So today we're going to continue with our standard deviation stuff. Give me a second here to set this up for our video. There we go. A couple things today. Hopefully this will be pretty short. We're going to talk about the range. Look at the left-hand side of your screen. Talk about that first. The range rule of thumb for standard deviation. Basically, that's a shortcut to do some standard deviations by hand if you don't have a calculator handy, and a couple other things it does. So really watch this one. And then at the end, I'm going to show you how to do the standard deviation on the calculator. That's why that's up there. So look at the left-hand side first. First of all, the range rule of thumb for finding the standard deviation it's crude, but it's simple, and it's easy to understand and help you interpret what standard deviation really is. It's based on the fact that for many data sets, that 95% of the data values lie within 2 standard deviations from the mean, which is going to be very important as we go on here. It sacrifices some accuracy. It's not always that accurate. Sometimes it's pretty close. To be honest, sometimes it's not close at all. So it's not something we use a lot, but it is a good warm up to what we're going to be doing tomorrow and Wednesday. So sacrifices some accuracy for the sake of being simple. 2 uses. First use is if you know what the standard deviation is, you can find out what we call usual values. Like 95% of the values fall within 2 standard deviations of the mean. You need to write those 2 formulas down right there. The minimum usual will be the mean minus 2 times standard deviation. The max usual will be mean plus 2 times standard deviations. Also, the other use is to give a rough estimate of an unknown standard deviation. And to do that, this is how simple it is. We're just going to do the range divided by 4. And that's it. So no big deal. Okay, let's look at a couple examples real quick. First of all, look at the red one. This is the mean for chocolate chips and cookies is 24. That's the number of chips. And the standard deviation is about 2.6. Use the range rule of thumb to find the minimum and maximum usual values to determine whether the cookie with 30 chips is unusual. So what I did first is I found the minimum. I did the mean minus 2 times the standard deviation. I got 18.8. So that's the usual minimum. The usual maximum, I did the mean plus 2 times the standard deviation. It gave me 29.2. So 95% of all cookies are going to fall between 18.8 and 29.2. That's a big percentage. So then they asked me, okay, if a cookie has 30 chocolate chips, is it unusual? Yes, because it's bigger than 29.2. Also, if one had, let's say, 16, it would be very unusual on the low side because it's below the usual minimum. So what the range rule of thumb is going to do for us is give us a quick minimum and maximum for our usual values because, again, 95% of the data is going to fall within 2 standard deviations of our mean, both sides of our mean. And the last one, the green thing here, the green problem, if a sample has 40 cookies and has a minimum of 19 chips and a max of 30, use the range rule of thumb to find S. Remember, S is the sample standard deviation. To find that, using a range rule of thumb, it's right up here. You take the range, look at the blue up to the top. You take the range, which is 30 minus 19, which is 11, divide it by 4, and you get 2.75. That's a quick version of a standard deviation. And to tell you how accurate it is, the real standard deviation on that problem is 2.75. Sorry, that's what we got. The actual one's 2.6. So at that time it wasn't way off, which is good. And again, sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But it's just a quicker way that we can use sometimes, not often, because usually we're going to use technology anyway to find the standard deviation. But I did want you to make you aware of what that was. And especially this red problem, really big deal to know that 95% of the data falls within 2 standard deviations of the mean. We'll talk more about that this week too. Okay, one thing on the calculator, and before we end the video, the calculator will do your standard deviations for you, both types, for sample and population. And here's all you do. You go to Stat, Edit, and then you put your numbers in. I've already put them in here. Sorry about that. Somebody walked in the room real quick. Put your numbers in. And like we did for mean and median, go back to Stat, go to Calc on the top, hit Enter for one var stats, go down to Calculate, hit Enter there, and voila, there's your mean, there's all this stuff. Now, the S, remember S is your sample standard deviation, that's it. Sigma, little sigma, is your population standard deviation. So it does both of them for you, and it also tells you how many numbers there were. So that's it. Pretty easy on the calculator. I think to me, easier than StatCrunch, but it's going to be up to you. So I'll see you tomorrow, and we'll work on both of these things. See you then.